welcome to an incredibly exciting edition of Inside Media Weekly. I'm Ryan Boni.
That's a lot of pressure going
And I'm glad to have this world-famous panel with me today. Kevin Bastos.
Oh, gosh.
A lot of pressure.
Not at all famous.
In purple.
In purple.
Justin Pinto in purple.
Hey, it's like kind of relative sometimes.
Truth.
Everybody's got purple today, except I don't have purple.
Well,
I have no purple.
you should get purple. Purple's a great color, especially.
We'll CG it later.
All right.
Yeah, we'll.
I should have worn. I do have like almost a chroma key color. We can change color.
That's nice.
Speaking of changing colors,
Manatees?
sea otters.
Sea otters. I got the manatees, those commercials. Manatees and novelty teas.
Ha, ha, ha. So it looks like garbage isn't
They need to clean up the Monterey Bay Aquarium.
It's like the real ocean now. It's like they're really going back to like what it's like out there in the real world.
Wow. So
You know,
there's like a wastebasket.
Well, there's some plastic in there, some bottles.
plants.
Yeah,
Wow.
that's perfect. Right.
So
Just like home.
I was going to say awful things, but I'll keep it just there.
Okay.
Garbage.
it is garbage. So we got a power packed week this week.
Yes.
I did not know anything that happened, really.
Yes.
Yes? Did something happen?
Well, tomorrow is Valentine's Day, and today's Mardi Gras, of course, as we
Are we
record
talking
this.
about this week or last week? Are we reviewing? I wasn't sure what was going on.
We were going through the rundown, and we started talking about things I thought, oh, man, it must be a slow week.
Did we get a rundown? Did it come while I was walking downstairs?
It may have.
He keeps sharing it, but it doesn't share or email.
It
when
doesn't
it doesn't
alert
do
you that it's shared. It just
Darn
so
it.
I need to. Yeah.
It's the they.
So we got Mardi Gras. We got Ash Wednesday. We have
And Valentine's
Day, and the Chinese New Year, I believe, and it's the year of the dog,
Yes.
not the year of the sea otter.
No,
Unfortunately,
again.
so just the dog.
Rip off.
I don't think it's next year either.
There is no sea otter in the. Is there? So
Pretty sure no.
I have really terrible news.
Yes.
The Rock has fallen,
To number 4.
not to number 2, not to number 3, to number 4.
That's not the most depressing thing up there.
It
Jumanji
still made $10 million
Welcome to the jungle.
in week. What week are we in now? 9, 10?
The most depressing thing up there is that 50 Shades Freed is number 1.
Jumanji's in its 8th week.
We made $10 million in its 8th week.
By the way, just so you know, so 50 Shades Free was number 1 for the weekend, but Peter Rabbit beat it on Sunday. I was just looking at. So
Yes, I did read that.
So
And somebody had like an incredible, like I don't know if it was it Jumanji that had like a Wednesday Thursday that was like really really good for like a 8th week Wednesday Thursday or something. Like it was,
Wow, that's obscure
Well, I mean-
information.
well, Box Office Mojo is pretty.
It
obscure
is.
with their
It's got
information.
everything.
I
I mean-
understand. It's got the mojo going.
If you want to find something really obscure about some weekend about something,
Always.
and it's like a wormhole. Like you just keep going deeper and deeper, and before you know it, you're like, oh wow.
4 hours have gone by. I should have
This
rated.
movie was the biggest opening weekend of a President's Day when it snowed.
Even number.
Yeah, even number of inches. It's something, and you're just like, how did I get into this page?
it's an incredible amount of information. We
3 times as many people went to see 50 Shades Freed as did the 1517 to Paris. That
I think what
I
will
believe
happen
that
though.
is a biblical sign of
I
Armageddon.
think what will happen here is 50 Shades Freed will make like 9 million,
Oh,
and
not-
15 to 17 to Paris will still make like 12 million next weekend.
Probably.
Like 15 to Paris, I just imagine it's just like, oh, Clint Eastwood did, like people are like, Clint Eastwood did that movie? Let's go see it. Like it's just like always the same.
That's not distressing
For like a
to me.
month.
The distressing to me is the number of people who wanted to go see and paid
But
money.
it's not that big of a number, relatively speaking, for a movie.
38 million is a lot of money.
For an opening weekend?
38 million is a lot of money.
Well,
What's
that's
the
true.
budget on that movie?
55.
It'll make that back in Blu-ray sales. Come on, it's made.
Oh, it's going to make its
covered.
money.
Ugh, yuck.
and it made
Black Panther's going to make $30 million like on Thursday.
Black Panther's going to make $30 million on Thursday afternoon.
dollars per theater.
Is that a big
50
number?
Shades Green.
Ugh.
Yes. Yeah.
Ugh.
I mean,
Terrible.
for February. So, speaking
Like-
of 50 Shades, oh, sorry.
I don't know. Like I said, I know Black Panther's got a bigger budget and a bigger audience,
Yes.
and more draw, but it's going to. I mean, Black Panther's going to make $38 million at the advanced screenings on Thursday.
I know.
You know, maybe more.
So, I share your frustration with 50 Shades Freed. I'm going to say Grey. 50 Shades Freed. And it reminds me of back in high school. This is you're wondering how I'm going to relate this. So
Please go.
I remember
Or maybe not.
back in high school thinking, how in the world is it that Home Alone
You just made
is
all
the
that-
highest grossing comedy of all time?
Yes.
What does that say about people that hear this movie about leaving this kid behind and a whole bunch of pratfalls is the highest grossing movie of all time?
Comedy movie, right?
Or comedy, I'm sorry, comedy movie of all time.
I think it still is the highest grossing comedy for leaving a kid home alone. I believe it has not been beaten.
Starring Macaulay Culkin.
Actually, there's probably a genre here on
my
Box
God.
Office Mojo. You want action buddy
No.
comedy?
No. No.
We have comedy Body Switch, comedy Bumbling, comedy College.
See, that's what I'm saying. You can get into so much.
And at the time, I was like, this just means people just are not funny or whatever. But then I realized as I got older that in the history of movie making, there have been exactly 7 family comedy movies ever made. So, so it makes sense because you're not taking the kids to see Blazing Saddles in the 70s, 80s, 90s, or today. I was just trying to think. Most comedies are either very dark or
Adult.
either adult or black humor.
80s.
I mean,
whatever.
they just came out with Home Alone, like Funko Pops, like toys. Like, you can buy them in the store. I saw one yesterday
Wow.
at Target. Like, literally, I think, like, Kevin has a toy on the shelf at Target right now. What is it, 92 or whatever it was that it came
Yeah.
out? So, I mean,
It's a long time. Made up in 91.
right? I mean, it's 25 years old at
89?
least,
I
right?
don't know. It's old.
I thought it was early 90s.
And of
I
course,
think the late 80s, maybe.
John Hughes and Chris Columbus. John Hughes kind of at the end of his power, and Chris Columbus at the beginning of his power. It was 1990, November 16th of 1990.
Split the difference.
Touche. Well put.
88, 89, 91, 92.
So, since I didn't understand that, can you explain to me?
Well, that's all
am I
those
misunderstanding?
books
50
were super
Shades?
popular. I mean, I bet if you go back and look at 50 Shades Grey when it first came out, it probably had a way bigger opening than this. Like, the books were really popular. were
By the
they
way,
not?
the franchise has made $1 billion. It said.
I mean, but the books were they were super popular. Were
I
they
have not seen a movie. I have not read a
No.
book. I am tempted to, and I'm going to use this term loosely, read the plot of the last one. Just like find out who's dead at the end or something. But
You want to have your answer for like Trivial Pursuit,
Something like
2030 edition.
Yeah.
You just want to know that one
Right.
key fact so you
Right.
can get your pie piece.
right, very important.
And the person next to you is like, "Don't you know this?
How do you know
How do you
that?"
not know this? How do you not know the answer to this question?" I'm shocked that Peter Rabbit made $25 million.
50 Shades, and there's a story with Peter Rabbit too.
Oh, I'm ready.
So 50 Shades of Grey,
For Peter Rabbit?
budget was $40 million back in 2015. Opening weekend was $85 million. It was also released,
So we're in the, it is trending now.
and it was released 2 days before Valentine's Day. Of
course.
much like we did here.
Of course.
Domestic run was 166 million, and the foreign was $404 million. So $500 million worldwide just for the first movie.
It's a lot of money. It's
Yeah.
a lot of jingle.
Yeah.
But I mean, is this a date movie? Is this women going
I
with
did
other
not
women?
go on a
Is
date to this movie.
I'm okay.
I made other plans.
Or is it because it's the third movie of the trilogy? This is a
Most-
trilogy, right?
Let's say it's a trilogy.
And people will just want to see how this is all going to conclude.
Sure. Because
Well, apparently less people that started the journey. People
Yes.
have quit along the way.
Yes.
85, 30. We're half the audience has been
Yeah,
like,
less than.
yeah, even because inflation, ticket prices.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
50 Shades Darker opened at 46 million
Okay.
in
Trimming away.
2017
Trimming away.
at 114 million overall, and then of course this one is the 38 in its first weekend. An average of 56 million. See, it's Box Office Mojo has lots of information.
Yes, I've heard.
So, any chance that it's going to stay in first place next
Zero.
week? Okay.
0.
Peter.
I'm pretty sure Black Panther's going to win this weekend.
So Peter Rabbit also opened at 25 million, second place.
Yes.
There were lots of Beatrix Potter huge fans that were very upset at how you take this beloved character and make him kind of smart alecky and all this kind of stuff. But there was an even bigger issue
I read
Apparently-
a blurb. I think I know where we're going.
I know this blurb.
I don't know,
I know
what
this.
it
So
was.
I only saw the headline, so please explain
know
if you
all
read
about
it. So apparently they make a food allergy joke. They're bullying food allergy people with food allergies, and Sony has since apologized to the public. So
Well, let's go back first with the reinterpretation of Peter Rabbit. He's kind of a jerk in the book. I mean, this is not a nice
I've not read
guy.
the books in a long time.
He, a little bit of a sly rapscallion or whatever, updating for Time Today. Do you know the issue with the allergy thing?
I just read a blurb, like a headline that said there was a food allergy issue.
I'm
in
going
the
to go
movie.
off on it. So
I don't know
Please.
what they
Honestly,
said. I
don't
don't know what they did. I just
Okay.
read that headline, so to speak.
Trying to look at it neutrally. The rabbits find out that Mr. McGregor is allergic to raspberries. So to escape, trap, whatever, they force feed him raspberries. And he has to use an EpiPen to recover from anaphylactic shock. And they laugh at him when they do it. That's what happened in the film. Am I trying to be neutral at it? Any comments before I go crazy?
I'm curious to hear what you have to say.
My kid has an allergy. Madeline's been allergic to tree nuts, nuts, and coconut for all of her life. So she's had a couple of life-threatening issues with all of this. Up north, there was Butler area. I want to say in the last 2 weeks, a kid who had a life-threatening allergy to pineapple. And kids purposely put pineapple juice on their hands and then came along through and high-five, giving this kid some kind of allergic reaction. So it's this joke that you're, providing this life-threatening whatever. And they're actually suing the kid for endangerment, and the defense of the parents is, well, it's just a joke. It's a joke. And the way I look at it is this. I mean, to my daughter, walnuts and pecans, they're a life-threatening issue. She gonna die. Like, if she eats one of those, she's got 7 minutes. My perspective on it is, if I pulled out a gun and, pointed it at you and then shot over your head, I don't think anyone would think that's a joke. If I said, that's really funny, or if I tossed a knife right by your head and I said, that's just a joke, it's just supposed to be funny, I don't think that's the way to look at it. And the fact that it's used as a defense, I don't have a problem with that. That's okay. I have a real problem with the fact that they laugh about it when it happens. That, to me, is awful. And especially because this isn't a movie for kids. And yeah, I'm getting a hot button issue, and yes, I have a personal vendetta here, but it shouldn't be. I mean, I'm upset about it. We will not support this. We will not put money toward it. I'm glad they apologized, but too little, too late. That's my mini soapbox.
My whole thing with this kind of stuff is these movies pass by so many sets of eyeballs. By the time they get out, especially, I have to imagine, especially family-friendly fare, is there's got to be hundreds of different people who have seen the script, watched the rough cuts, approved things, whatever. It just seems strange to me that if they were going to have kind of a meanness to it, that somebody somewhere along the lines would have said, this might not be a great idea.
There's 1,000 other ways to do this, 1,000 other ways to really attack this. And my middle daughter actually was in school 2-3 months ago or something. There's a boy who has a peanut allergy, and again, kids are like, you should try it. You should have this Sarah's candy or whatever that they passed out. And he was like, I can't. I'm allergic. And they said, we should just give him something to see what happens to him. This isn't a joke. I mean, it's not a. And I have personal sensitivity to it. The fact that she goes through this, and it hurts, man. When she was 6, 8 years old, going to a birthday party and saying, here's your alternate snack that you can have at this party, or no, you can't be a part of this, or we can't attend this event because they have this kind of stuff. That sucks to look at an 8-year-old like that, disappointed and angry. And it's just still sort of just this passive whatever. I'm kind of angry, especially in a kid's movie. Mm-hmm. Didn't have to be there.
And so, obviously, first weekend here, it made $25 million. I'll be curious of this bad. So this came out. I'm trying to think when the story broke. Well, obviously, as people started to see it. Obviously, there's a big train coming already with Black Panther coming out.
Right.
I'll be curious to see how this bad publicity affects this film.
No, I like James Corden. He's a funny guy. Didn't have to be there.
Yeah.
Didn't have to do it.
Speaking of didn't have to do it, so there. Let me get to it. Sorry. This is the wrong week.
Oh, the wrong rundown.
Yeah, put something. We can make it work.
Come on.
So the games that you were talking, Game of Thrones.
Oh.
So, of course, Game of Thrones coming to an end 2019.
19. The book's not there.
The
2 more books, no release date.
They know
yet.
the ending. They've been told. They're good.
So the showrunners, David Benioff. Oh, hold on, we got an ad.
Ad.
Skip it.
Air New Zealand, if anyone wants to take the travel. David Benioff and D.B. Weiss are apparently going to write and produce a new series of Star Wars films
Good move.
that Disney has announced. Not part of the Skywalker and the Saga films.
Is this the first one that we were
Not part of the Rian Johnson.
So this is a whole nother set.
So now they have another set of things. So
Sounds like 7 more movies minimum.
Oh, easy.
so obviously
They'll announce 7, and it'll go to 18. Halfway through the third
Well,
film.
like in true Game of Thrones fashion, because it started
Yes.
as like 4 books, then it went to 5. I need 7.
I think, but it was 3 when it started.
I don't remember. I don't remember the exact start, but I know it just kept expanding and expanding.
So I'm curious. Obviously, Game of Thrones, relatively mature material. Not saying these guys can't write stuff that is more family friendly, more Star Wars type, but we've already seen Lucasfilm fuss with Miller and Lord over getting fired off of the Solo movie. Is there any apprehension, any concern you think with these guys coming to produce? I mean, are we going to be in a year from now?
I read
Kathleen
a
Kennedy
link-
going to be saying, "Sorry, we parted ways on creative differences." Ron Howard, come on down.
Oh,
We're gonna clean it up.
I read an article. I mean, I don't think it would ever happen, but somebody was writing an article like, "Will we ever see like an R-rated Star Wars movie?" Because like, it started with Deadpool.
Yeah.
It went to Logan. Somebody said Quentin Tarantino's Star Trek movie is going to be rated R, that he wants to do or something. There seems to be this kind of shift, which R-rated movies is typically like, okay, you're going to lose a lot of money. PG-13 makes more money than R, typically. But somebody was like, are we at the point where we would go down that path? Partially because, like you said, Game of Thrones is kind of over the top in a lot of ways, from the book to the show, and everything.
Well, I think the issue you have with Star Wars is obviously George Lucas saw it as, he always said it was for 13 and 14-year-olds. But Star Wars right now, I mean, is kind of...
As our guest said, why are you laughing at my movie? This isn't for you, as Kevin said about his son. Like, quit laughing at my movie. This isn't for you. This is for me.
So, but, obviously there's a large contingent of people who have aged with these movies that are big fans and might be ready for radar. And I think Rogue One certainly could have pushed a little bit further and gotten into our territory. I mean, if they really wanted to do a full-blown war movie, I mean, it obviously was sanitized. It's interesting to think with Disney in charge how much.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is like language. Like, I mean, it's become more lax. Like what used to be PG. You know what I mean? What used to be PG-13 now would be like PG this day and age.
It's shifting.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely. Well, I mean, just look at network television and just look at
Use and content.
I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like,
But also, like, things like drug use are now acceptable in PG-13 movie. But
Yeah.
smoking is only R. I mean, that's
there's
one of
just
the dumbest
there
things
are
I've ever seen.
there are certain lines in the sand.
Right.
Like there are certain lines, and when
Right.
you cross that line,
Right.
you hit this rating for sure.
Yes. Content use, etc.
Yes. So I mean, it's just
See,
like you said. We have a war movie. We got all these people running around. Crazy things are happening.
See, I'm not worried necessarily about going that direction. And again, watching last night, I'm way behind season 4 or whatever, and talking to my wife, thinking this is probably a pretty real representation of the people in power, how they interact and behave. I don't think it necessarily has to be there or not has to be there. It has to be good. And I think tapping these people, I mean, Game of Thrones isn't good because it's salacious. Game of Thrones isn't good because it's graphically violent. It's good because it's good. The characters are very rich. I mean, I'm trying to think of is it Diane Lane or is character in it?
I don't think Diane Lane's in Game of Thrones.
Not Lane. Shoot. I'll think of her name. Anyway, some of my favorite characters in there aren't involved in any of that, egregious content at all. It's there, but it's more tertiary or secondary or on the fringe elements. It doesn't have to be there to make it good. It is, I think, because it's an accurate depiction or description of that kind of morally lacking standard of leadership that I would expect is pretty much in every kind of leadership, this violence and power. So I'm excited for them bringing them in because I think they could really put a dark edge on this science fiction where right now Star Wars is sort of 13, 14-year-old, and our standard as an adult person for something we grew up as a 13 or 14-year-old on isn't the same anymore. And I think it's why, to a great degree, we aren't seeing that level of enthusiasm outside of Rogue One for a lot of the newer films because they're still making those films we loved as 13, 14-year-old kids, and that time has changed. We've changed.
Yeah. I mean, I'm certainly hoping, and I'm all for different visions of Star Wars. I mean, that's what's probably most exciting about Lucas stepping aside was the idea. And so far, I've certainly complained on this program about J.J. Abrams and Ron Howard just kind of being slightly more vanilla-type directors, not necessarily pushing the edge on it. So I'm going to I would love to see some darker sides. I mean, the universe of Star Wars is enormous. There's lots of characters out there to see.
Oh yeah, you could tell like a really dark. I mean, I think when we see there's this hinting at like these people are totally evil. The Empire, the not the Resistance.
First
Order.
Yeah.
Like these people,
well, and
they're bad guys. They're bad people.
Yeah, and that's what's actually been disappointing so far with, with some of the Star Wars movies is the life of the Emperor or of Snoke, of these really bad characters. I mean, they really, really can show off some evilness or how they became so evil, and they've kind of shied away from that, especially with the newer movies, to focus more on the heroes. But I'd be curious to see a very dark.
Well, I think one of the best things about that Game of Thrones is so many shades of good and bad. And there isn't anyone who's inherently great. And there isn't really anyone who's inherently evil outside of Joffrey. He's kind of...
I mean, I don't want to... I mean, well, you've read the books, but I've watched the show. So, like, I know... I kind of know more than you know.
I understand, yeah.
Because the show's ahead of the books, which
Yes.
is kind of funny, but...
And he's an awful... But so many of the characters are built on so many shades
well, he's supposed
between.
like, I mean, that's his whole purpose. Is
Right.
like his purpose in the show is to be like
Right.
that character.
Right.
Like, that's...
And Eddard is very, true white hat and hero, and again, 6-year-old spoilers here or whatever, eliminated very quickly in that story. And then we have these shades of leadership back and forth, who is truly good and who is truly evil. I mean, Tyrion's a wonderful example of someone who is truthful and evil, but may have the highest moral ground of any character in that set of books, even rivaling who Eddard is, or that level. And that's what makes those books and the television shows so fascinating. But I'm hoping this can have that, where Darth Vader was so black hat constantly, and then that shade came out of him, versus so many characters who are so pristinely clean and white battling. And it's, your old spaghetti western kind of a story. I mean, very clear, this is good and that's bad, and this might bring some of that shades in there.
So hopefully they let them kind of do what they want.
Oh, God, please.
The Game of Thrones creators direct.
Just like, I mean, Rogue One had to have figure out Bosk. Dengar. He's
The
Dengar
story
is useless.
Zengar.
Delicious crumb.
Dengar. What a... Ugh. I remember seeing the movie and thinking, who's that loser in the back there who's all bandaged up? Dengar. What?
I gotta find his action figure.
I know. I need it. Even on the... I remember the packaging of the action figure when I was a kid. It was like out of focus. It was so far away and terrible.
Speaking of terrible... No, speaking of so far away, that's a better segue. So, an odd story came out. So there's been rumors of an... here we go. I don't know what just happened. We've blocked out. There's been rumors about an Obi-Wan Kenobi movie. Ewan McGregor said he'd be happy to go back and inhabit the character again. And so apparently George Lucas was in Belfast, and they believe perhaps he was scouting locations, even though he has nothing to do with the franchise anymore.
Yep.
What can this possibly mean?
I think George Lucas should be he's just on vacation.
Or is he just throwing people off?
He's just out there vacationing, seeing how things are, living the dreams of a retired billionaire.
Don't you think they're contacting him though? Hey, here's our idea. Great, go with it. Here's what we got. Want to fly out?
What
Sure.
Wouldn't he be the guy we want to avoid after like the prequel? Like, I mean, we gave him free
No.
range to do everything he wanted, and we got those 3 movies. Like, and the special editions. Like, can I go back? Can I fix some things I didn't finish?
I want to fix and
I want to
unfix it.
fix and then change it, and then never really know
And change back.
Yes. And if you have
Luke
like
screamed,
one
except he
certain
doesn't.
VHS tape, it might be the real one, but you don't know. Is it really on DVD or Blu-ray? Can you really see the original cut
Letterboxed,
ever?
unletterboxed, sliced. And,
Oh
yeah.
my gosh! He's the person I don't want it. Like, just
right.
you gave it to us. It was unbelievable, but now just let the Game of Thrones guys do their thing. Okay, just
So, real quick, I was going to throw a few headlines out to see if any of these jumped at you, but we're almost out of time. Secret X from MovieWeb.com. They had a whole bunch of great headlines coming up. Secret X-Men movie 143 gets Deadpool director Tim Miller.
Great move.
This was a great one. Willy Wonka reboot targets Paddington director Paul King.
Would it be a reboot?
It would be.
I'm still a little curious as to why they never made a movie of the book sequel that's terrible.
could be because it's terrible.
Well, that's a wonderful opportunity, though. This movie was awful. Let's redo it and make it not terrible. That's what I'd do. That's what Hitchcock used to do.
The Han Solo story was inspired by The Big Lebowski.
Wow.
That's good.
I can imagine someone sitting on the couch, all jacked up, watching The Big Lebowski, thinking, this would make a great Han Solo
Black Panther
story.
Easter egg just discovered in Iron Man 2.
Unbelievable. They've been hiding these things.
Michael
You must click
Fassbender
on
and
that
Kung.
one for after the show.
Michael
Hit
Fassbender will
that
star in a
one.
Kung Fury movie.
No.
Netflix
How's it get
Highwayman.
Fassbender? That's
No,
unbelievable.
No, hit the Black Panther one. That's for after the show.
Oh, the spoiler?
Netflix Highwayman gets Kevin Costner and Woody Harrelson.
Nice.
You got the solo poster, Incredibles 2 poster, new poster. Pixar superhero families going back to work. Of course, the Peter Rabbit story.
We've gone full circle.
Five Nights at Freddy's. Only 3 years too late. Good call.
Chris Columbus is going to be doing that.
Premiering with Angry Birds 2.
We're out of time, but I do want to mention there's a couple.
Angry Birds Star Wars movie. It's perfect.
There's a few movies coming out. Black Panther, you may have heard,
I'm going to see
is
it
coming
Thursday.
out.
The Super Friends movie.
That would be a great. Yeah.
Kitara, the movie.
I'm drawn to Magnum PI for some reason for a movie. Like, can we get Tom Selleck? Can we get
No,
him?
they need to find some of those very racist Super Friends names, like those whole pantheon of characters, and there are names I don't even want to repeat on the show.
Exactly. Early Man, of course, the animated movie is coming out,
Never
and
heard of it.
which is going to take the
Nope.
place of probably of Peter Rabbit. You've not seen the Early Man
No, never heard of it.
Nope.
trailers?
Nope.
They've been on.
Nope.
Okay.
Nope.
And Samson, Jackson Rathbone, not related to Basil, I believe, and then Billy Zane and Rutger Hauer. Interesting grouping. And that's all the time. We're really beginning the wrap now. To close up this show, that's all the time we have on this episode of Inside Media Weekly. Thanks for joining us.